Your washing machine breaks on a Sunday night. You have a full week of laundry sitting in a basket and no repair appointment until Thursday. You do not know what to do with it. My name is Gideon Adkins. Born outside Harlan, Kentucky, in a holler my grandfather cleared by hand. Before electric machines reached these mountains, a woman with a washpot, a washboard, a battling stick, and a fire cleaned an entire family's laundry every Monday, all day, every week, for a lifetime. Not just a shortcut, a complete system. Every stage that a modern washing machine performs, the heat, the agitation, the rinse, the spin, exists in this method, done by hand. Ruth ran this system on this land. I watched it. Today I am telling you exactly how it worked, step by step, from the equipment up to the soap to the rhythm of the day. 5 pieces of equipment. That is the whole list. The washpot. A large cast-iron kettle, the same material as the skillet on the stove, hung over an outdoor fire on a tripod or suspended from a pole, heavy enough that moving it empty took real effort. When full of water and clothes and sustained heat, it stayed where it was. This was the center of the whole operation, the boiling vessel that did what a modern machine's drum and heating element do together in one vessel. The washboard, a ridged board, usually wood-framed with a corrugated metal or glass face, set upright in a tub of soapy water. You pressed wet, soaped cloth against the ridges and worked it up and down by hand. The ridges created the friction. The friction pulled dirt out of the fiber. Simple, direct, and punishing on the knuckles. The battling stick. A flat wooden paddle is used to beat and agitate clothes in the boiling pot. Not a gentle stir. A sustained, driving effort to push hot water through every layer of cloth. Some called it a battling stick. Some called it a paddle. The name varied by family and hollow. The function did not. The wash tubs. Often a wooden barrel sawed in half. 2 of them at minimum. 1 for soaping and scrubbing, 1 for rinsing. A 3rd for bluing if you had whites to keep white. The drying surface. A clothesline if you had one. A fence if you did not. A low-hanging branch, a bush, a split rail fence. Clothes dried on whatever was available. Ruth used the fence along the garden. It worked as well as any line. That is the equipment. Nothing in that list required a store. Everything in it could be made, found, and/or improvised. The soap was not bought. It was made. The lye soap came from 2 things a self-sufficient Appalachian household produced as a matter of course: rendered hog fat and lye leached from hardwood ashes. The hog was butchered in late fall. The fat was rendered down. The ashes from the hearth were saved through the year rather than scattered. Nothing was wasted because nothing could afford to be. The result was a soap fundamentally different from anything sold in a modern store. Caustic, effective, and unscented in any way a person today would recognize as pleasant. It cut grease and dirt out of fabric the same way it cut grease off a cast-iron pan, because that is what it was built to do. Nothing more complicated. Some households pressed it into the hard cakes. Some kept a liquid form and stirred it directly into the wash water. Both worked. What a family made depended on preference and how a given batch came out. Ruth kept a crock on the shelf. Made in November, used through the summer. The smell was specific to anyone who spent time around it. Sharp and clean. Nothing like the perfumed bars sold in town. Here is how the soap was actually made. Hardwood ashes were saved from the hearth through the year, a deliberate act, not an afterthought. When enough had accumulated, the water was run through them in a leaching vessel, often a wooden barrel with a hole bored at the bottom. The water absorbed potassium hydroxide from the ash as it passed through. What dripped out the bottom was lye. Caustic enough to burn skin on contact, strong enough to cut through rendered animal fat. That lye was combined with the hog fat over heat and stirred until the mixture saponified. That is the chemistry word for what happens when a caustic alkali and a fat convert into soap. The stirring mattered. The heat mattered. The ratio of lye to fat mattered. A batch with too much lye would not set. Too little, and it would not clean. The experienced soap makers tested lye strength by floating an egg in it. If the egg rode high enough, the lye was strong enough. Ruth knew what it was supposed to look like. That knowledge did not come from a book. It came from standing beside her own mother and watching until it was right. Wash day started the night before wash day. The evening before Monday, or before the children left for school Monday morning, the older boys cut the firewood and hauled the water. From the spring, from the creek, however far the source was from the house. They filled the boiling pot and the rinse tubs. That was not a small amount of water to move by hand, and none of it moved by anything other than hands and buckets and strong backs. The fire was built under the pot and held. Not a small fire, a sustained working fire that had to be kept going for hours while the pot heated and the washing ran. Tending it was its own task, not a background detail. By the time Ruth came to the wash pot, the fire was already under it. The water was already heating. Earl and the boys had done the part of the work that no one remembers when they think about how laundry got done in these mountains. The preparation accounted for as much of the day as the washing itself. What happened at the pot was only possible because of what happened before anyone came to it. The method ran in sequence. Every step was necessary. None of them could be skipped. Sort first. Lightest colors and least soiled items went in first. Darkest and heaviest last. The same pot of water ran through every load in order. Whites went into the cleanest water. Dark work clothes went in last, when the water was already carrying the soil from everything before it. The sorting was not about aesthetics. It was logic. Each load degraded the water further, and the darkest fabrics showed it least. Boil. The first load went into the pot. Clothes and linen submerged in soapy, lye-laden water already at full temperature. Then the battling stick went in. Not a stir. A sustained, full-arm beating to drive the hot water through every layer of fabric. The boiling killed bacteria, broke down grease, and forced the soap through every fiber. This is what a washing machine's drum, heater, and agitator do together. All of it happened in one cast-iron pot over one open fire built outside. Scrub. Soap rubbed directly onto trouble spots, collars, cuffs, knees, elbows, any area that carried concentrated dirt. Then the cloth was worked against the washboard, up and down, until the spot released. The washboard did not clean by magic. It cleaned because hands pressed cloth against ridges until friction and heat and soap pulled the dirt out, hard on the hands, hard on the knees. Effective every time. Ring. Between every stage, water had to come out. Clothes were twisted by hand as tight as arms could manage to drive out the soapy water before the rinse. On heavy items, quilts, overalls, work shirts made stiff with a week of field labor, one person was not enough. Ruth and a neighbor woman worked the quilts together, each twisting from an opposite end, the water running down their arms. That was ordinary. That was the system. Rinse. The wrung clothes went into a separate tub of clean cold water. Not a quick dip. A thorough rinse to remove every trace of lye soap from the fiber. Lye left on fabric degraded the cloth over time, broke down the fibers, shortened the life of cloth that had to last. The rinse was not extra. It was necessary. Bluing. For white fabric only. A small amount of a bluing agent was added to a separate rinse tub. The bluing counteracted the yellow tinge that accumulated in white fabric from age, repeated washing, and the action of lye. A product of this kind has been commercially available since the 1880s. It was not a luxury or a vanity. White fabric yellowed. Bluing corrected it. The chemistry is real, and the product still works today. Starch. For dress clothes, collars, cuffs, Sunday shirts, anything that needed to hold its shape. Cornstarch mixed with water, or water saved from boiling potatoes or rice, used to stiffen the fabric. Clothes were dipped and wrung again. The potato water was not thrown out after supper because nothing was thrown out. It went to the laundry tub the following Monday. Every stage of this system found a use for what other systems discarded. Dry. Hung on the fence, the clothesline, the bush, whatever was available and in the sun. Line-dried laundry in full sun dried faster than most people today expect, and came out with a stiffness and a smell that no machine has yet reproduced. Iron. Not Monday. Tuesday. A sadaron, a solid-handled iron block, heated on the stove until it was hot enough to press. Most households had two, so that one was always heating while the other was in use. The rotation kept work moving. This was a full day on its own. Now name what this system maps to. The boiling pot is the wash cycle and the heat. The battling stick and the washboard are the agitation. The lye soap is the detergent. The rinse tub is the rinse cycle. The bluing is the bleach equivalent. The wringing is the spin. Every function that a modern washing machine performs exists in this method. Every single one. None of them required electricity. Not one. Monday was wash day. Not by preference. By the structure of the week. Sunday was the day of rest. That was the rule and the practice across Appalachia and across most of rural America. Monday was the first free workday that followed. The laundry could not wait for Tuesday. It had piled up all week, and the household needed it back. Monday was when it happened, every Monday, whether the weather was right or the body was willing or not. It was an all-day task. Fire lit before first light. Last piece hung at dusk, if the day went well. Sometimes the ironing pushed into Tuesday because there was not enough day left for both. The women who ran this system did not have a choice about any of that. They managed it. There was no time left on wash day to cook. Not with the fire, the pot, the scrubbing, the hauling, the wringing, and the hanging consuming every hour from light to dark. This is where the wash day meal came from. Beans and greens set to simmer on their own before the washing started. A meal that needed no tending. A meal that was ready when the laundry was done. Gideon names this directly. The food traditions of Monday in Appalachian households exist because of what wash day demanded. The beans on Monday are not random. They are a solution to a specific problem. The meal and the method were one system, and they answered each other. This was not light work. That needs to be said plainly before anything else. The arms and back and knees for hours over a boiling pot and a scrub board, standing in steam regardless of the season. Heat in summer, cold moving through in winter, the fire keeping the water hot and nothing keeping the woman warm but the fire itself. Hauling rinse water between tubs, wringing quilts until the arms gave out and then wringing again. The day started before light and ended after. The women who ran in this system were not doing it because it carried meaning or because they found satisfaction in the labor. They were doing it because the family needed clean clothes and this was how you got them. That is the honest framing, and it is the only framing that respects what they actually did. The reward at the end was real, though. Line-dried laundry that had been in full sun all day had a smell and a feel to it that no machine has produced since. One person described it as air fragrant with sunshine. Ruth's laundry smelled like that. It is one of the specific physical memories that still comes up, not as sentiment, but as a sensory fact that belonged to a particular place and a way of doing things. What this system required of the women who ran it was sustained, skilled, weekly labor. It kept a family clean. That is the whole of it. Stated plainly, without embellishment. The machine is broken. Now you know what to do. You need a heat source, water, a basin, soap, and hands. The wash cycle is the boiling pot. Agitation is the battling stick and washboard. Detergent is lye soap. The rinse is cold water in a separate tub. Bluing is the bleach equivalent. Wringing is the spin. Every stage a modern machine performs has a hand equivalent here. This is hard work, and nobody should romanticize it. The women who ran this system every Monday of their lives would have used a machine if they had one. They would not have looked back. That is the honest truth. But knowing how they did it matters. The system is not lost as long as someone can name the steps. Tell me in the comments what wash day looked like in your family, or whether anyone you know still uses a washboard. And like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.